Добрий день, шановні телеглядачі! Вітаємо вас на телепрограмі Alberta Kontakt. Я Олександр Фарина. Сьогодні ми для вас підготували надзвичайно цікавий репортаж про драматичний фільм «Ті, хто навколо нас» They Who Surround Us. Цей фільм був знятий у нашій провінції Альберта у містечку Вегревіль, де живе багато українців, а режисером, головним актором та продюсером цього фільму був відомий голлівудський актор Трой Руптеш, який сам з родом цієї околиці. Цей фільм розповідає про українського фермера та його сім'ю, і як він важко переживає велику трагедію в своєму житті.
Tata, I want Mama.
Roman, are you all right?
Yeah.
Have you been drinking, sir?
Do you want me to get you something?
No.
Why don't you let me go stay with us tonight? I'm just trying to protect him.
Protect him from what? Mikkel! Hide, Mikkel! Go hide!
Biše, Roman! Biše!
We have the first opportunity to have this interview with Troy Ruптeš. Can you tell us a bit about yourself and your background in film industry?
Sure. Well, I was born in Vegreville, Alberta, and I went to theatre school in Toronto at Conservatory at Ryerson Theatre School. Moved to New York, where I did a lot of theatre. I lived in New York for 15 years. Did a lot of theatre, and then a TV show took me to Los Angeles, where I've been for, I think, 17 years now, acting in film and television, a lot of guest star and episodic television. And this is my first time writing and directing and telling my own story.
Wow. Okay. So They Who Surround Us. As you mentioned, you played so many different roles in production of this film. How challenging was it to write the script and to play the lead role and to be the director and the producer as well?
It actually wasn't challenging at all. I mean, it was so rewarding, I would say. There were challenges along the way, definitely, but I think because this story has so much meaning to me, and I was so passionate about telling a Ukrainian narrative. You know, I've been in the industry for a long time, acting for many years. I've never auditioned for a Ukrainian character. I've never played a Ukrainian character. And so I really wanted to tell this story. And so I think because I was so passionate, when any challenges arose, I just kept moving forward. And I had so many people around me supporting me.
When we talk about the plot, when I was watching this movie, I was the thought that came in was, is this a true story? Is the parts of it a true story? Is this an autobiographical story? Can you address that, please?
Yeah, it is definitely inspired by some of my family history, especially on my maternal side. My maternal grandmother, who raised me really in Vegreville, together with my mom and dad, but I was very close to her, and she passed when I was 12. I wish I would have had more of an opportunity to speak to her because she fled Ukraine and her family were killed in Ukraine. And she had a brother who came to Alberta ahead of her, and she was supposed to meet up with him, and she didn't find him for 18 years. So yeah, definitely some of the inspiration is from my family history and my ancestors, but I also wanted to address universal themes and tell a story that would attract a wide audience and that a lot of people could relate and understand.
So, and you surely did that in portraying the character of Romano, Romko, right? When we look at your lead characters and how he evolved through this film, what can you tell us about that?
I think the main, what I really wanted to address is the theme of the grief that comes when you lose someone that you really love. Me personally, it's something that has always resonated with me. The idea of, thank goodness my parents are still with me. But the fact that I've lost my grandmother, my grandparents, and all the ancestors in Ukraine that I never got to meet. But I wanted to convey that to an audience through a farmer in Vegreville, and that I wanted to the audience to connect to him and his grief, to really understand what it's like to grieve, because we all do it, but we don't always talk about it that much.
Нещодавно цей унікальний фільм був представлений на Едмонтонському міжнародному фестивалі фільмів. Наша знімальна група зустрілася з акторами і записала інтерв'ю спеціально для нашої передачі.
Мене звати Данило Мазепа, мені 9 років. Я народився в Едмонтоні. Мій герой у фільмі називається Микола. Він є син головного героя Романа. У цей фільм я загубив мою маму, і нам стало трошки тяжко жити. Але ж, на щастя, у кінці нам було добре жити. Мені дуже сподобалося, коли я зустрів мої нові друзі тут, і мені було теж дуже цікаво, як вони робили цей фільм. В майбутньому я би хотів, тому що це є дуже інтересно, як це робиться.
Привіт, мій ім'я Наталя Яцина, Natalie Yatsina. I'm a first-generation Ukrainian. Я народилася в Південній Африці, але мама і тато і сім'я в Україні. I got involved in this project through a family friend, not family friend, but a friend through Troy. And я побачила, як ця історія за Україну і все, що я знаю з моєю родиною, це був найкраще як opportunity мати. І це who wouldn't want to learn about Ukrainians, right? Я буду по-українськи сказати це. Коли ми були в Vegreville, це був так класно побачити маленький район, що має так багато українців, що в Україні вони не знають за Vegreville. І це був так класно побачити, скільки людей, що так раді бути українці. І це був найкласно побачити, як актора перший generation побачити це. Що був дуже тяжко, це був як показати, як ми маємо дуже багато трагедій в Україні. І як це може принести назад. І це тут, в Канаді, теж. Ми маємо так багато українців, що іммігрували до Канади. І це вони знають, ми всі знаємо, як це був там і як зараз в Україні теж. Що я буду принести з кіно, це як раді, що я українка. І що я буду подати до моїх друзів, до ті, хто не знає за нашу історію, я буду подати, як багато я знаю, і за це кіно, і як open your eyes to new cultures and also to the current events. And this is only a small story of everybody that has gone through something tragic. And I think it's a very, very, very important to showcase that we as a small country, as a very rich country, deserve to have our stories be told. Slava Ukraini!
My name is Ali Liebert, and I'm an actor from Vancouver. So I play the character of Natalia, which is Roman's sister-in-law. And I think Natalia, there's a lot of grief and loss in this film, and so she's dealing with the loss of her sister, but also making sure that her nephew is okay, and also Roman. And I think it's a very complicated time in her life, dealing with her own faith and her relationship with her husband and her own family. So it was very interesting role to take on. I think for me, something that was really interesting shooting this film was the style of cinematography and the style of direction, because sometimes we would do whole scenes in just one take, which is very unique and refreshing. So, usually a common way when you shoot a movie is, you do a wide shot and then coverage both ways, and I think it really worked in this film because it lent itself to the intimacy and just the mood of what Troy was trying to capture. And so that was really different for me. It was the challenge and I think the success in one. So I am not Ukrainian, but I had to speak Ukrainian in the film. And so luckily there was a lot of folks around that could help. Natalie Yatsina, who is in the film, she helped me a lot. I had a friend that I went to theater school with who made voice recordings, and a lot of the crew were Ukrainian. So I just practiced very hard, and hopefully I did okay, trying to honor the language and the role I was playing. I think my biggest takeaway from filming They Who Surround Us was spending a month in Alberta and learning about what it means to be Ukrainian and the history of what Ukrainians had to go through. And the town of Vegreville was so welcoming to the cast, and some really incredible friendships were formed. So the actual experience and also the learning was really impactful on both fronts.
Hey, I'm Ryan Northcott, and I play Pete in They Who Surround Us. Peter, I guess, or Sweet Pete. You can go with Sweet Pete. It's interesting, the characters that we play, so specifically even as Peter, I think it's really a way to show the importance of community. And, every step of the way that Troy and Roman goes through in the film, there is a feeling and a sense of community that are there to help support and that are there to help get over what he's going through. And so, that evolution, I think in the film for my character anyway, is just more is that support system and showing that you can't raise it takes a village to raise a child, and it really does take that community to get everyone together and in a good place. So in terms of challenges from the role and even just doing the film just in general, I didn't find it challenging. I think it was just natural. I'm a helper, I think, just naturally. So I felt it was pretty easy just to portray that as the helper in the film, and to Troy and to Roman and everybody who surrounds him. And so I didn't find it all that challenging. I think it was really easy just to step into the role of support and I think even from a filming perspective, there's always long days, there's always things that change over the course of doing a film, but I have to say that the cast and the crew and everything made it just a really pleasurable experience to be on the film. My biggest takeaways from being in the film, being involved in the film, is the camaraderie that we as a cast and a crew were able to create. When you're in a small town for that extended period of time, you have no choice but to get together with the other cast and crew, and then with the people of the city that you're in or the small town that you're in. And so, what I got from that was that camaraderie of community, but also learning about Vegreville and learning about Ukrainian culture. And, I've never been on a film set where I went to the director's parents' house and had a Ukrainian feast that I'd never experienced in my whole life. And so just that, it felt like we were welcomed into that community, that Ukrainian community, and you learn about just how much, how close-knit it is, and how caring it is, and how starchy it is in terms of food. But it was really, I'll make for life friendships and connections from this film. So.
My name's Melania Bachniuk. I'm from Alberta. I am an actor, performer, singer from here. Grew up here, lived my whole life so far here. I went to MacEwan University for a theatre arts program, and then on to the University of Alberta for the Bachelor of Fine Arts acting program. Graduated from there in 2019, and I got into this film it sort of fell into my lap, I'd say. I was on Facebook one day, and I was on a group that has audition calls on it, and I saw it pop up, and I hadn't spoken Ukrainian in many, many years, and saw the casting call that said, Maria has to speak Ukrainian, early 20s, mid 20s, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to take a risk and just try and see what happens, and see if I can speak Ukrainian all over again about 10 years later. And yeah, it sort of just fell into my lap. I went and auditioned, and then got a call back, and got cast, and that's how I made it into the film. Yeah, so I play Maria in the film, who is Roman's mother in Ukraine in the 1940s. And she is trying to escape Ukraine during World War II. And I think the evolution of her character, it's interesting to watch because it's all in flashback. And so you sort of see little snippets throughout the film, and you're not really sure her entire story until the very end. And I think she evolves kind of, I want to say gracefully throughout the film, because, you know, there's a lot of stakes that she's trying to, a lot of stakes that are against her with trying to escape Ukraine and with her son and her baby. And I think throughout the film, you really see her motherly instinct come in, and you see her strong will to survive and to have her children try and survive so they can live on from generation to generation. Yeah.
Вони були вчора вже равно. Заїдемо в будинок, задаючи питання.
Просто скажи, що ти нічого не бачила.
600 людей розстріляли.
I'd say one of the successes sort of came when I was cast in the film. Like I said, it sort of fell into my lap, and I kind of felt like this was meant to be, in a sense, as I do play a character named Maria, and my Baba's name is also Maria, and she and my Dido came from Ukraine during World War II separately. They didn't know each other at the time. So it was really interesting sort of stepping into essentially her shoes and how that impacted her trying to leave Ukraine at such a scary time. And I think, yeah, there was a ton of success in myself for the film. I think it really allowed me to dig deeper into my Ukrainian roots that I hadn't really necessarily visited in a really long time.
Я мушу йти. Брати знаходяться з іншого боку хребта. Треба далі рухатись. Я спробую незабаром знову прийти. Тримайся мужньо, сестро.
And being able to sort of walk in the shoes of someone who went through that and the trauma that they experienced, because we'll have no idea how that ever felt for them. And I think as well it came with challenges because I didn't grow up in the 1940s. I haven't lived through a world war. And I think it was really, I wouldn't say I put a lot of pressure on myself, but I'd say that it was very difficult having to prepare myself to fall into this place of scary times and fear and trying to see what it was like. My personal takeaway from the film is I think it holds a really special place in my heart. I've seen intergenerational trauma happen. It's happened in my family, and I don't think it's talked about a lot. And I think there's a lot of, PTSD and mental health that have come out of people immigrating from Ukraine during the war, and I don't think it's necessarily talked about enough as it should be, because I think it's a really important thing to acknowledge and to kind of see in your family and in yourself and how it is passed down from generation to generation. And I think as well it's really nice to come back to my Ukrainian roots and sort of open up this identity that I haven't necessarily seen in a very long time. So
I don't think you can take care of him properly.
He's all I have left.
Romko, God is always with you.
Where was God 2 weeks ago? I can't do this right now, Miko. He's my son! I'm not getting him! Go get him! I want my son! I want my son!
Now, in terms of use of Ukrainian in the film, right? There is a number of characters who speak Ukrainian, and there is the variety of scenes where your non-Ukrainian, ethnic non-Ukrainian characters actually had to learn phrases. How difficult was it?
Luckily, I think Ali was the main person who had to learn some Ukrainian phrases and the prayer in Ukrainian, and she's so committed and such a talented actor that she picked it up very quickly.
The monologue that Michael has at the beginning of the movie, and then later on we see where exactly it happens. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, it's amazing to me because it's one of those things that I felt like it just came to me. Like I was lying in bed at my parents' place in my old bedroom where I grew up, starting to work on the story, and certain images came to me. And then when I started writing, this passage came to me. You know, they will condemn us, they will beat us and try to destroy us. And I feel like it really captured what I wanted the underlying theme to be. So to be able to start the movie like that, and then you see later where it comes from, you know, felt very powerful to me. And I feel like I know I wrote it, but it's one of those things where it feels like I don't know where it came from.
Next one is Ukrainian music choices, right? We were talking to Craig, and he said, you better talk to Troy about this. Rідна мати моя, that song that you sing in the truck where Miko says, Tato, sing for us.
Yeah, that came to me spur of the moment through one of the people working on the film, Darsha, who is she was actually the costume assistant. And I wrote to her and I said, what is a good sort of traditional Ukrainian folk song? And she told me this one, and she sang it to me, and I thought, that's it. I love it.
І ручник вишиваний на щастя, на долю дала.
Very catchy melody. I was driving here and I was humming it and singing it. Yeah. And it's a popular song, but not too many people know it. So, and how about the lullaby?
Well, I knew when I wrote the story, I knew the lullaby was going to be central to the story, and I think it might have been even Melanie when I had already thought of the lullaby. Again, I think one of the consultants that I spoke to recommended it, and when I heard it, I thought, it's stunning. It's stunning.
And final words. What could you suggest or recommend to all these inspiring actors who took, we're talking about the younger generation. I see it as you gave them, so to say, an opportunity to shine. And what are your words of advice to them?
I would say tell the stories that are meaningful to you, and especially the stories that don't have the opportunity to be told, so trust your voice and trust your passion, and you have to have perseverance because, it's taken me a long time to get to this point, but I don't regret any of it, but, I've had to stay the course.
And your hopes for the film, for the future, right now, you've showcased this at the Edmonton International Festival.
Which was fantastic to premiere here. I just submitted to Berlin Festival, Sundance, and Rotterdam. We'll wait to hear probably in the next couple of months or next month. Odessa Film Festival would be an amazing opportunity, so fingers crossed on that. I just want the right people to see it at this stage who can help it get the biggest audience possible.
Well, once again, congratulations.
Thank you.
And we're so happy that our audience, all the viewers who watch our program, will be able to see this report about your wonderful movie.
Opportunity here is, I've gone into this movie just because, my sister Virginia, she started this whole thing. She gave me this part basically because it passed on from my other sister Rosalie to me too, and I've just had a great opportunity in this film, They Who Surround Us. But it basically just passed on from my sister. I had a great time in this role, but there were a few challenges. I was pretty good at most of the things, but when there were gunshots fired, it was a little hard for me to be normal startled thing and stuff. It was pretty good though. It just kind of reminds me of my Baba hat sometimes, and I just loved being a part of this movie, and it just felt kind of realistic to me. So it really actually kind of goes through my heart, because of all my ancestors and stuff. But I really enjoyed being part of this movie, and just loved it.
Well, my name is Craig Ritchie, and originally was trained as a classical pianist, and then years ago in New York, just sort of through happenstance, it was actually through Troy, that he played the lead in a film, and the director needed a composer and asked me if I would do it. And as soon as I was doing that, it's like, oh my gosh, I love this. And then Troy and I are partners, and we've been together for a long time. So when he made this movie, of course, I was going to do the music. And it was actually really fun because we started working on the music in the writing stage. Troy was up here doing some research, and he would send me, he'd say, I'm imagining Roman's hearing a voice in the woods, write me some music. And so I'd write him some music, and he'd say, send it me tomorrow. And I found some samples of Ukrainian language singing, and so we use that as a little inspiration, listen to it, put it sort of in the background, mix music with it. So I was sending him music while he was writing to help inspire him. So by the time we got to the job of scoring the film together, actually a lot of the music had been written already thematically, so then it was a matter of deciding which piece of music would best appear, and then how we would treat it differently depending on the emotional content. Part of it was important is that sometimes if there's too much music, at least with a film like this, it will feel too manipulative or dishonest. And there was such a simplicity and a purity in the storytelling and the style of filmmaking. Primarily, I did not want music ever during talking, during two characters speaking to each other. Like they don't need help. We're just in the story and we're hearing them speak. But then the flashbacks or the beautiful shots of nature, there's so much visual storytelling just with camera and picture. And then those moments just cry for music. You know, they're perfect for music. So that was the basic approach. And there might have been a few exceptions where in some of the flashbacks there was some conversation and the music continued underneath in the Ukraine 1943 flashbacks. But, you know, I could just tell you that I told Troy this too, is that I feel like I was waiting for an opportunity to score a film of this quality and this depth and drama. I've done some dramas. I've scored a lot of romantic comedies and some documentaries. And so for me, this was a treat to really sink my teeth into something that had such a beautiful photography, first of all, and then just so much heart and, you know, trying to depict and deal with emotional issues, but in a way that wasn't sentimental, that just sort of supported the film as best as I could without getting in the way, was just a wonderful opportunity, and I'm so proud to be part of it.
Through my ancestry history, my mother came from Ukraine, from Zhoralna, Ukraine, and as a youngster she related many stories about her life in Ukraine and the suffering that took place there, and also how she came to Canada as a young girl, and what an experience it was for her, because she didn't know the language of English, and the trying times it was. But so mainly my son, when he was young, my mom used to tell him stories about her life in Ukraine. And as a youngster, Troy was very interested in artistic, in the arts, and in figure skating, competed and showed his talent in that field, and then later studied drama went to Ryerson's College in Toronto, and then on to New York. And over the years, he developed his skills in acting, and later was very interested in the Ukrainian history of our family.
I'm Troy's father, Larry Roptash, and still live in Vegreville, pretty well our hometown and Troy's hometown. And yes, we're very proud of Troy and what he's done. And it's a beautiful movie. It's a beautiful movie, and I would recommend everyone to see it. Everyone. It's a beautiful story, and it's a movie that you want to see again. You want to see it again. Usually you go to a movie and that's it. But with this movie of Troy's, you will want to go and see it again. That's the kind of movie it is. It's a beautiful story, the hardships that the Ukrainians went through, and yes, and yeah, we're so proud of it, and hope everybody gets a chance to see it on the big screen.
What I feel that is important, if there's youngsters that are interested in drama or singing or acting or any music at all, for them to pursue their love. And I know it's a very difficult role because there are so many struggles along the way, and it's a very hard profession. And I think it's so important to have the support of your family and friends and community. But just if you really love it, no matter how difficult at times, or disappointment of rejection when you audition for something and maybe you don't get the part, but if you really love it, just continue and stay with it, set your goals, and eventually you will achieve.
Вони засудять нас. Вони будуть нас бити і намагатись знищити. І дехто з нас буде знищений. Але дехто з нас буде жити далі і продовжувати боротьбу за свою свободу. І ми відновимо своє життя і побудуємо життя для наших дітей та для дітей наших дітей.
Тут никого нет! Давай, иди сюда! Ищи в лесу! Эй, поищи в этих деревьях! Они не могли далеко уйти! Пошли вперед, к речке!
Біжи, Романе! Біжи!
Мене звати Майкл Сек, і я народився в Торонті. І більшості життя я прожив в Едмонтоні, я тут виріс. І, може, десь 3 роки назад я переїхав до Ванкуверу і пішов в acting school, називається New Image College. Може, рік після того, як я закінчив, то моя сестра побачила повідомлення, що вони шукають на роль в Едмонтоні на українського солдата, і вона казала, от ти повинен це зробити self-tape audition і вислати. Я думаю, чому ж ні? І вислав, і тут тепер я є.
Вони були вчора вже равно. Заїдемо в будинок, задаючи питання.
Просто скажи, що ти нічого не бачила.
600 людей розстріляли.
Мій герой називається Стефан, і він мусить охороняти свою родину, але в той самий час битися за Україну. І це досить, я думаю, тяжко для нього є це робити, бо як звичайна людина, то схоче бути з родиною, але в той самий час він хоче бути солдатом і битися за Україну, і щоб його родина і сім'я мали краще майбутнє. Це було досить важко, бо я хотів правильно переказати це все, ту історію, що сталося, і я знаю, що це дуже важне для Троя Рупташ, він це написав, і також це важне для всіх українців, що це пережили. І я хотів це правильно зіграти, і це трошки було важко, але велика річ, що мені допомогла, що ми знімали в українському селі, і там все таке старомодне зроблено, що було краще уявити, що я там є, і знаєш, в тих ситуаціях. То я думаю, що це дуже мені допомогло. Я мушу йти. Брати знаходяться з іншого боку хребта. Треба далі рухатись. Я спробую незабаром знову прийти. Тримайся мужньо, сестро. Цей солдат називається Стефан, і він б'ється в УПА, бо під час 43-му році в Україні, і якраз в той час росіяни нападали і шукали українців, і в цей час то він б'ється, втікає і пробує охороняти свою родину, і тоді бачиш в той час, як цей фільм так зроблений, що Роман, як був малий Ромко, то це був Стефана племінник, і як він бачив, як його вуйко помер і бився за Україну, і це дуже вплило йому на життя. І так він тоді з тою травмою виростав. Це був мій перший такий фічер-фільм, що я знімався в ньому, і я дуже радий, що я дістав можливість ту роль грати, і я думаю, це дуже змінило, як я бачу Україну, і то все, що я, як everything that I've experienced in the film, it kind of gives me a better understanding of the history of Ukraine, and I think that it's a good thing to take away from and try to spread awareness of the things that have happened in the past, and it really makes me connect with my roots as well. And I'm glad that this was the first start of my career, and I'm excited to see what else comes that way. I would say my personal takeaways is that I really felt like I have a stronger connection with my roots and the Ukrainian history, with my family and all that. And being born in Canada, I'm fortunate enough to not have grown up in surrounding war and things like that, but it really changes my perspective on things, and I'm glad that I was able to be a part of this movie, and it's important to me that this story gets passed on and more people are aware of Ukraine and its history. And this was my first feature film that I've done, and I'm happy that I got the opportunity to be in this film, and I hope that I could be part of more films that are just like this one.
В даний час цей фільм ще показують на різних кінофестивалях, але незабаром його можна буде побачити в широкому прокаті. За додатковою інформацією слідкуйте на веб-сторінці фільму www.theyWhoSurroundUsMovie.com.